Hey everybody, welcome to the fourth video in the 8-part Filmora AMV course. Today we'll be looking at blurs, shakes and a few more effects which will be used as one-framers and some will be used to enhance the clip's quality and just add some more impact to the clips. Now in our last video we covered one-framers which we added on these two clips, on the first one and the second one. Now today we'll be moving onwards and we'll be adding some effects and blurs and shakes on most of the clips and some more one-framers on the remaining clips. So I'll add them and then I will explain it to you how I added them and what the values were. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back and I've added all my effects and one-framers onto the edit. Now without wasting any time, let me begin. Now the first effect I've added is known as a monochrome one. As you can see, it's on the first clip, at the start of the first clip, with the opacity 100. The second effect is known as split style. These are the values, and basically the main thing over here is the source switcher. This split style will have its source switcher off, but the second one will have its source switcher on. Okay, so yeah, moving on, we have the mild shake. So the mild shake goes like throughout the first clip. As you can see, its length matches the first clip's length, and these are the settings for the mild shake. Be sure to turn off RGB separate because it looks very bad if you add it. Moving on, there's spin blur, as you can see. So let me show you. Yeah, so spin blur with these values, as you can see on your screen, with a keyframe of spin. Okay, so the first keyframe is at the start of the effect with value 5.40, and the last keyframe is at the end with the value of 0. So this is how the spin blur will work. Below spin blur, we have some sort of one-framers, you could say. There's neon lights, then there's black background, then there is ripple with these values, as you can see on your screen. Then there is a white background again, and yeah, that's it. There's also a white background at the end of the first clip. So yeah. Now moving on, there's spin blur added again on the second clip with values these. We'll be keyframing the spin value again. So the first keyframe is at the start of the effect with the value 18.50. The last keyframe is at the end with value 0. Above spin blur, we have another effect known as ripple. So these are the values we'll be using. You can see on your screen. We'll be keyframing the amplitude. So the first keyframe is at the start of the clip with 52 value of amplitude, and the last keyframe is at the end of the effect with the amplitude 0. Now moving on. Yeah, so there's another effect known as PCC displacement map which I've added. These are the values for it. We'll of course be keyframing all these green symbols and green values. So the first keyframe is at the start of the clip, as you can see, and the last keyframe is at the one frame before the end of the effect. Okay, so this is like the second last frame, and these are the values for the last keyframe. You can slow it down if I'm going too fast, but yeah. Moving on, we are now on to the third clip. The third clip, these are basically the same as the effects which I've added at the start, so I don't need to explain this again. The settings are the same, the values are the same, so I'll quickly go over it. Now, this another BC displacement map effect which I've added. This time the values are changed. These are the values. This time we'll be only keyframing the master displacement. We won't be keyframing the other values. So keep that in mind and just copy these values. This is the value for the master displacement. The first keyframe is at the start of the clip. The last keyframe is at the end of the clip with value 0. Okay. Moving on, there's spin blur and BCC fast lens blur. Now BCC fast lens blur, the value for the spin is 0 at the start. Okay. And we'll be keyframing this value, whereas the other values are these which I've used. So this is it. The second keyframe is at the approximate middle, actually not the middle but before the middle, with spin value 10, and yeah, the rest of the values are the same. the last keyframe is at the end of the clip with spin value 0. Below spin blur, we have BCC fast lens blur with iris scale being 0. The rest of the values are these. We won't be keyframing these values. Yeah, iris scale value 0 at the start of the clip. The second keyframe is in alignment with the spin blur second keyframe. So the second keyframe value of iris scale is 15, and the last keyframe is at the end of the effect with value 0. Moving on, there are no effects on these two clips, but the effect will start from this clip. Okay, so this is, I think, I don't know what clip this is. It might be the 6th or 5th. Anyways, so we've added fast lens blur with these settings. Okay, these are the values. We'll be keyframing the iris scale again. So 15 is the first keyframe value, the second keyframe is 5, third is 0, and yeah, that's it. So this is yeah. Moving on, BCC displacement map again. This time the values are quite different. So these are the values which I'm using. First keyframe at the start of the clip with master displacement 0. Second keyframe at the middle and 150 value. Then it's 498 or 500, you could say. Yeah, that's it. 498 or 500 is the end. If you want, you can drag the keyframe at the end, but it's up to you, to be honest. Below displacement map, we have twirl and spin blur again. Twirl, the value for twirls which I've used are these, as you can see. We'll be keyframing the twirl angle. The first keyframe is at the start with value 0. Second is at the middle with 50, 150 and 300. So these are the values for the twirl angle keyframe. Then we have spin blur again at the, below the BCC twirl. These are the values for spin blur. Again, we'll be keyframing the spin. The first value is at 0, the second value is at 8.70, and the last value is at 17 or 18. You could say, you can just round it off to 17 or 18, it's up to you. So this is what we're doing, right? So this is basically a type of pseudo transition which I've made using the effects. Moving on, we have displacement map again, and the values are this. This time we haven't keyframed any of these values, so keep that in mind. That's it. Moving on, we are on to our last two clips, and the first effect which we've added is the twirl effect. Now, of course, we had to add this twirl effect because of this PCC twirl effect. We need to like combine these two to make a transition. So these are the values for the twirl, as you can see. Now we'll be again using the twirl angle as our keyframe. So the first keyframe is at the start of the effect. The second keyframe is at the is before the middle with -50 value, and the last keyframe is at 0. Ignore this keyframe which I have. This keyframe, there is no change in the value for twirl radius. I don't know why this is happening, but anyways, just ignore it. Spin blur, again spin blur. These are the values. As you can see, we are going to be keyframing the spin. The first keyframe is at the start of the effect with 16 value for the spin, and the last is at the end with the value 0. Lastly, our BCC fast lens blur. These are the values which I've used, as you can see on your screen. The first keyframe is at the start with iris scale 15. The second keyframe is 1 or 2 frames before the middle with 7.50 iris scale, and the last keyframe is at the end with iris scale 0. So that's it for the effects. Now before you go, let me first clear up one thing. The glitch that you see here, now this distortion, it isn't supposed to happen. The distortion over here and over here, it's not supposed to happen. It's the reason it's happening is because my player quality is set to 1/4. If you add these effects on your own edit, be sure to change your quality to full quality. Then this displacement map will work perfectly fine. Okay, so yeah, but be aware that when you do change your quality to full quality, your composition or your timeline might lag, because BCC displacement map is a very heavy effect even for my BC, and that's the reason why I'm using it at 1/4 quality. But don't worry, when we'll actually export this edit, the effect will work perfectly fine. So yeah, that's it for the blurs, effects, and shakes. We've only used one shakes, but most of them are blurs and effects. So yeah, so this is it for the fourth video in the FCC um, AMV course. In the next video, I'll be showing you something known as composition or compound clips. I'll be using it to arrange my clips, to compile my effects, and I'll be using it to actually add more effects, overlays, and transitions to make the edit more smoother and more better. Okay, so yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.